Our new operation that we have today is called function composition. And I mentioned that at the very beginning. Function composition is used a lot, I guess, in the real world without us really knowing. So for example, let's say you pay $30 for a pair of shoes, and for some reason you buy 5 pairs of shoes. We could have a function that represents the cost of the shoes themselves, a function that represents the tax paid on your purchase, and a composition of those two functions would show us how much you paid altogether. So I guess that's just kind of one example of how composition is used in the real world. A lot of times we just don't think about it. But here is function composition. Example 3a. Let's use our same functions from example 2a. If you had those ones down, f of x was x squared plus x minus 6, and g of x equals x minus 2. Now our symbol for function composition is an open circle. We are going to find f composed with g of -3. Be very, very careful. There is a difference between multiplication and composition. They're very, very different operations. So just pay attention to, in this case, the circle in the middle is open. It's not a multiplication dot. It's an open circle. So that's our clue. Function composition is what we want to deal with. Okay, now this composition symbol, what this as a whole really means is we're going to take g of -3 first, then find f of whatever our g of -3 was. So in other words, we're finding g of -3, and then we're going to take that, plug it into function f. So f of g of -3. A lot of times people like to rewrite our composition like this, because sometimes that just makes people, it makes it a little bit easier for people to think about and to remember what they need to do. But we find g of -3 first, plug it into function f. So first, I guess, ask yourselves, how do I find g of -3? Remember, whatever is inside your parentheses is your x value. So I'm going to take that -3 and plug it into x in function g. -3 minus 2, which gives me -5. Now we take that -5, plug it into function f. So we take -5 squared plus -5 minus 6. Well, -5 squared is 25 plus -5 minus 6. 25 minus 5 is 20 minus 6, 14. And that's function composition. So again, the biggest thing to remember is that f composed with g of -3 means we find g of -3 first, the two pieces that are next to each other, and then move out. We start inside our parentheses, g of -3, start here, work our way out.